let's have a look at some of the key functions that have been delivered by SAP in the version 10. Now, back in November, we already did a webinar on the version 10 release, and so rather than going through all of that again, what I've done is selected some of the key highlights, plus some of the additional features that have been introduced by SAP in the last couple of patches that have come out since version 10 was released. So we are now up to patch level 2, and so in patch level 1 and patch level 2, there were a number of nice new features that were introduced, including this the web client, which was announced with version 10, but is now delivered and in a position to be demonstrated. The other exciting announcement SAP has made is the availability of the service layer with the SQL version of SAP. Now, I mean, this is more of a technological discussion. I mean, the reason for considering service layer for the SQL version is that it allows the ability to integrate and write applications that use RESTful APIs and using OData technology. It also allows some level of parallelism in terms of integrations. Rather than everything coming through DI API and getting stuck in a queue, you can get leverage off that service layer technology and get transactions throughput at a higher rate. This service layer has already been around for the HANA version for a number of years, so this is just SAP now giving it for the SQL version as well. And I guess one of the main reasons for doing this is the web client, because the web client obviously uses the service layer to do, to present the data onto the web browser. So with that, let's have a look at the actual web client and the interface. And so here it is. I mean, you can see this is running within my Google Chrome browser. I've already logged in, and I can see a number of different tiles that are available. So you can see there's a My Home, there's a Sales. So if I click on that, it just takes me into the Sales tiles section. I can click on Purchasing, it takes me further down. Click on Business Partners, and so on and so on. So you can see that this is the entire functionality that's currently available. So there is a subset of purchasing available. You can obviously see that landed cost isn't there, but you can do all your purchase orders, goods receipts, AP invoices. You can also do CRM type activities. You don't have the sales opportunities in there yet. So let's have a look at how some of these things work. So the first thing I'm just going to show you is, apart from this tile-based menu system, you can also click into the My Menu area and get, your traditional client-based menu system as well. It pretty much looks the same as what you would expect in an SAP traditional client. Let's have a look at some of the other things. So if I click on, the person or myself here, that brings up a few other settings that I can do. So firstly, I can see that all my recent activities are here. And again, if I clicked on one of those, that would bring up that screen and take me into the more details. I can see a frequently used. So these are things that I've been using all the time. So again, I've got a shortcut into that. What I'll do now is go and look at some of the settings. So I can also edit the homepage. So if I click on that, now essentially I can remove some of these tiles. I can also add new tiles onto my home page, or maybe into my sales or purchasing section. So it is fairly customizable. I've now clicked on the tile. I can go in and add maybe create sales order, and then that'll and then if I come back out of there, that customization has already taken place. So it is highly customizable, the interface. Now I'm going to exit that edit mode, and that's the changes have been saved. I can also go in and look at what other options I've got. So I can change the appearance. So right now I'm using the SAP Belize Plus. Let me just change that to a different one. So this one here is a black background. And if I just save that away, you'll all of a sudden see that the whole interface has changed. Right now I've got a black background and white front end. And so you've got a selection of 3 different options here. The third one is there's another one which is a lighter shade, and I'll just quickly show you that one as well. Okay, so it looks similar to the very basic first one, but you can see that it's fairly easy to customize and change these things. I'm going to change back to the default one now. Okay, what else can we do here? If I go back into the settings, I can look at the home page. Now here, show all content or show one group at a time. So if I choose to show one group at a time, what happens is it becomes a lot less busier. If I'm on my home, I only see the home-related tiles. If I click on sales, I only see the sales-related tiles. So it's just a bit of usability around what you can see in the interface. So come back in and change that. You got language settings. You've got activities. So if you looked on my screen on the right side, it's popping up the activities. There's some settings around that, around the notifications, and so on. So I'm going to come out of here now. So let's just quickly look at these activities. So I've got a couple of activities with reminders, and I can sort of clear them off once I've actioned them. Or I can go in and look at the complete list of activities that I follow up. I can click into something and that'll take me back into the activity screen. And then from there, I can manage that activity screen. Now I'm going to come back to the home page. So we've been looking at the menu system. Now what I'm going to do is open up the sales quotation list. So this is showing me that I've got 7 sales quotations. It also shows me when was the last time this was updated. So if I clicked on the refresh button, it'll basically refresh that counter only. If I had additional quotes going through, then this number would have increased. I click into the quotations, and now I'm getting a list of quotes with a filter. Now there's a default filter. The default filter is saying, show me open quotes and show me for the current user. Okay. Now, apart from that view, there's a number of other views. I can look at my standard. Now what that'll do is give me a different list. In this case, I'm seeing all of my quotes, not necessarily just open ones, because you see the status filter has gone. Or I can look at open sales quotations. And now I'm seeing all the open sales quotations. Doesn't matter who the owner of that transaction is. You can obviously sort the list by different columns. So, I can sort ascending, sort descending, sort by dollar value. And if I just go back and let's sort by descending by number. What I can also do is adapt the filters. I can do some additional filtering on here. If I wanted to filter on some other type of columns, I can do that. I can also put those filters onto the main screen, so I don't have to come in here. So there's a particular filter that I use all the time. I can use that. Likewise, on the grid level, you can also go into the view settings and add additional columns that you'll view in this list. You can easily export a list to Excel. Once I click on that, it will just open up in Excel in the background. So there you go, there's the list, it's dropped it, and now it's opening up. And there's that same list that I had open on screen. The other nice bit I see here is there's also the ability to chart the information. So if I click on the chart view, all right, now I can say, well, this is a record count, and then I can say, show me by customer code. Okay, so this is now showing all the orders in the system by customer. I can use different charting. I can do a bar chart, pie chart, and so on. So this is all sort of available, pretty standard in the system. Okay, and this is available on any list, any grid. Now, if I go back to a line chart, got some other options as well. I can sort of do it by customer name, and then I can do it by date as well. So now I'm getting a couple of different bits of information. So by customer, by date. All right, so I'm going to come out of here now, go back to the table view, and what I'll do now is let me just change back to the My Open Quotes view of the world, and I'm going to drill into one of these quotes. Okay, so now you'll see a transaction screen. What we've been looking at, so firstly we saw just a login screen with tiles, then we saw a list view of things, and now what we're doing is opening up the actual transaction and viewing that. So looks much like how you have in your standard traditional client. You have the general tab, the contents tab, logistics, and so on. You've got the same thing here as well. Up the top, you've got the customer, and you've got the total value of the, in this case, the quote. If I go into, if I click on the different tabs, if I click on the contents tab, you can see what products are on the order. I can click on the logistics tab, and I can see the address information. I can click on the accounting tab and see those things. And then, of course, I can see all the user-defined fields as well. All right. Now, right now, I'm in a view mode. If I clicked on edit, this will sort of now open this transaction up, allowing me to manage it, change information. It could be that I'm changing the posting date. It could be that I'm changing the quantities on the order. So if I went in and typed in, let's say, 25, and tab out of the field, it's now updating it, and it updates the price, the total value of the quote, and so on at the same time. Once I'm happy with the changes, I can click on the update button, and that'll save the update back into the database. So once I've updated it, now it's out of the edit mode. You can see up here, there's other options around. I can create a new one. So I've had enough of this one. I want to do a different one. I can close this one. I can cancel this. I can duplicate it. I can create a linked activity against this. I can copy this, into an order. I can also preview this. If you had a crystal report layout for this, you click the preview button and it'll open up, and then you can print it as well. Of course, you've got a relationship map as well, which I'll show you a bit later on. Up on the top right, I've got the options to scroll between records as well. So if I go to the previous data record, it's just, all it's going to do is just open up a different transaction in the system, much like how you're used to moving from one record to another in the traditional client. What I'm going to do next is convert this, copy this into a sales order. So you click on copy to sales order. Much like how we have in a traditional client, it will pop open another screen with the sales order. Now, just bear in mind this is running on my PC, so it's not running on a full-blown server environment. But even then, it's not too bad in terms of how quickly it's responding. Okay, so to do an order, of course, we got to put a delivery date in. So if I just try to add this now, so we can see the items have come through, all the other details have come through. I could click add, and it stopped me. It's saying, well, it's missing value delivery date. So I can come in here, I can put in my delivery date, and then I can just simply add this. Now, before I do that, let's just quickly have a look at how I could amend or add another line. Now here, there is a small difference between the SQL version and the HANA version. This is the SQL version. In this one, I have to bring up a list and then add the items from a list, whereas in the HANA version, if you start typing codes, it would intelligently sort of do the predictive search and give you some options to select. I can select multiple items from here and click on the select button, and this will then drop those items into the grid. As you can see, those items have now come through. And again, if I come back to the list, this list here has got all the capabilities of searching, much like any other list we've seen before. So I'm not going to show you that too much. So, and then simply the next thing to do is to add this. And it's telling me it's successfully completed. I had a few options there. I said add and view, so that's why it's just showing me the transaction. If I had said add and new, then it would have sort of given me the opportunity to do a new transaction. So I'm just going to come back out of this into the home page again. You see, and then I'm going to go back into the quotes list and go into one of the quotes. The other thing you can of course do is drill into items and drill into the details and so on of any particular master record. So here I'm just opening up this sales quotation, and then what I'm going to do is open up the item master for this particular item. So here, if I click on the item, what happens first is I get summary view. So if I don't really need to see anything more, then that's all I need to do. If I need to see more, then I can click on this view more, and what will happen is, if I just click view more, then it'll open up another tab. If I say view more in current tab, then it'll open it up here. Now I've already opened up this item in another tab, so let's just go and see what that looks like. So this is now our item master data. Again, the look and feel is the same. You've got all those tabs that you're used to seeing. You click on them, and as you click on them, it's taking you through the different tabs that you want to see. You can see the stock data here, what's in stock, what's committed, what's ordered, and so on. And likewise, as well as the user-defined fields. And the same thing would happen if I clicked on the BP master record. So if I clicked on that, again, I've got the same thing. I'll see some summary information. If I want to see the full record, I can click on view more. And then here I've got the business partner master record. And the same thing here again. All the information that we're used to seeing on the business partner record are all available here and within the different tabs. Again, you can go in, you can create new records, you can remove records, you can duplicate, you can even create a sales order from here. Okay, so the last thing I want to quickly show you before we move on to other bits and pieces around version 10 is the relationship map. I mean, that's a much loved function that's been available in SAP for years, and credit to SAP for including that functionality within the web client as well. So if I went into this this particular invoice, just waiting for it to load up, and if I clicked on, you can see it's based on a number of other transactions. If I clicked on the relationship map, we get to see the same view that, a similar looking sort of graphical view of what's happened. From there, you can obviously drill into a particular transaction and see more details about it. Okay, so that concludes the section on the web client. What we'll now do is just look at some of the other highlights from the version 10 release, some of which you've already seen in the previous presentation we did in November, and some of these are brand new. So the first one I'm just going to quickly run through is the capability to drill in from a financial report. So, for example, if you run a profit and loss report, run it for a particular date range, and anywhere where there's a balance, you'll see a golden arrow. So this is brand new with version 10, and from there you obviously can drill in and see more details. The next one I'm going to talk about is the capability of performing authorizations and restricting people on master records by tabs. Now, what I mean by that is that if on the item master, you want certain people to just see the general tab, but not the inventory data tab, or more so on the business partner master data, you wanted people to see the general and the address information, but not the financial information. But you've got that ability to do that now. So if I look at the business partner master, and you see this here, now you've got an authorization by tab, general tab, contact tab, and so on. So you can restrict people access by tab on the actual master report. And likewise on the item master data, the same thing's available. You've got the purchasing tab, the inventory tab, and so on. Let's have a look at some other enhancements. So the approval process in SAP, I mean, everyone's aware that the approval process has been there for a while. Over a period of time, SAP has been listening to us and enhancing it. You were able to do approvals on transactions that had already been added. Now the next enhancement that's coming with version 10 is the ability to authorize, ability for the person who's approving the document to update it while it's in pending status. So this is one that that wasn't there before. So that's an handy one to have. The next one I really like, and this one's wasn't there in the original release. This came out with patch level 1. Is the ability to edit user-defined fields on a transaction row after it's been added. There's a new authorization or new setting by transaction type. So per document, so here in my case, I've got under system initialization document settings, gone into the per document and said AR invoice. And I've got this setting that says allow update of user-defined fields when document rows are not editable. It means once the invoice has been added, I can still update user-defined fields. Now this is by transactions, so if I went into the sales order one, I haven't got it turned on. So if I now went into an existing AR invoice, and as we all know that once an invoice is added, it cannot be modified. I'm trying to click into the quantity field, the unit price field, the warehouse field. I can't get in. But if I pick any of these other user-defined fields that I've got, I can get into them. Once I can get into them, I can also update them. So that's a very handy one. You've always been able to do header-level user-defined fields in added documents. Now you can also do line-level user-defined fields. Right? So likewise, because I haven't turned it on sales orders, if I looked at a closed sales order, it's all grayed out. I cannot get in because in this transaction I have not allowed it. Okay, the next one here is the Office 365 integration. So I'm under administration, system initialization, general settings. In the parts area, with your export to Word or export to Excel, you've got two choices now. You can do it to a local folder, to a shared folder, or you can say, I want to do it to a OneDrive application. And once you've done it, once you set that up, then you've got to then go in and do some additional setup, and it's just opening up the screen. You will obviously need there and log in, and there's some additional setup that you'll have to do, including you have to have an application ID or a client secret for Office 365 setup. So it'll guide you through all of that. But the sort of key message is that now you can export straight into OneDrive your Excel and Word documents. Okay, we can now also resize some of the forms on standard reports that were not resizable previously. And the most common one here is the general ledger report under financials. So under financials, financial reports, accounting, general ledger. This screen here was not resizable in the past. So now I can maximize this. Gives me more real estate to look at all the different GL accounts and do, it just gives me better usability. The same applies on the general settings screen. This screen was also not resizable in the past, but now I can maximize it and do further manipulation on it. All right, document printing and the capabilities of having further filters and so on. So let's have a look at that. So under sales AR document printing, I've got the ability to do further filtering, including business partner code and customer groups, which is nice. What I can also do is once I've got that list up, I can use form settings to add additional columns, including business, customer reference number, including, a bunch of other things, include salesperson, and all the user-defined fields that are available on the header level of that transaction. It's very useful here. Just great improvement in terms of usability, because once you've got those bits of data available on the screen, then of course you can also go and do filtering of that data and just bring up a specific list. It could be that you're looking for a particular reference number or something along those lines, and it just makes it a lot easier for you to pick all that up. Right, including business partner name. Now, the open items list also has that same enhancement. So if I go into sales reports, open items list, this is the current sort of standard list that comes out of the box, but now we've got the same ability to do form settings and add a whole heap of other things, including all the including sales employee and who created the transaction, but also all the user-defined fields. Okay, again, fairly handy. All right, the next one is this concept of reference documents. And I'm not sure how many of you know this. This has been in there for a little while. The ability to link additional reference documents and have them come up in the relationship map. So let me just show you what I mean here. So this AR invoice, for example, is linked to a particular AP invoice. And I'm just putting something in there for the time being. And I update this. Right? It might be also referenced to an incoming payment. Right. Now, this ability to add reference documents been there since 9.2 or 9.3, but what's been enhanced is now you've got more transaction types in here. I think the goods receipts and the stock transfers and the production orders and all these things weren't there previously. So that's the enhancement in version 10. But just a reminder for those who don't know, once you've done that reference and you look at the relationship map, you look at this option here to say, show me the reference documents. And now I've got, just the transactions that have been referenced through the reference document tab. All right, the next enhancement we'll have a quick look at is the Backorder Report. So the Backorder Report's been there for some time. It's got some additional capabilities now. So if I run this now, I can see not only just sales orders, but I can also see open reserve invoices not only that, but I can also see the payment statuses of those reserve invoices. So we've had, that's quite handy. Now, we don't have the ability to add user-defined fields on this one, but I think the fact that we've now got reserve invoices as well as their statuses, it makes it a lot handier and a more usable report. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is the enhancement in relation to the add button. So when you are entering a transaction, let me just quickly pick a customer and an item. At the bottom here, now you got this add button here has got some other options. You got three options essentially. You can add and then say, I want to do a new one. You can add and then say, I want to view the one I've just created. Or you can say, I want to add and just close the screen. So this gives you a bit more capabilities. Previously, standard SAP functionality was you add one and then it would go to new. If you had BOEM, then you could simulate the add and new. But if you didn't have BOEM, then you were stuck with add and new. Now you've got the third option that says once you add the transaction, close the screen because I don't need to deal with this screen anymore. So I can do an add and close, and the screen disappears. The system will remember the last option you selected when you use that option. All right, so now it's defaulting to add and close. All right, the next one we were going to look at is the customer equipment card. And now you've got the ability to store multiple business partners on it. And then why does this make sense? Well, an item could come in and out of your warehouse multiple times. I mean, the serialized item that is, and it may be, come back for repairs, and then it might get sold to someone else. Now, you lose that traceability and tracking if you didn't have the ability to have multiple business partners on it. So if I look at the equipment card here, you've got a default BP. You can click on that button, and similar to how you can have multiple suppliers on the item, you can now have multiple customers linked to an equipment card, if it's a sales related or a vendor for that matter. Let me see if I can find one. So see this one here, this has got two business partners, and these have been inserted by the system, because if I go back into the transactions tab, I can see the item was purchased, it was delivered to customer Norm Thompson, they returned it, and then it went back out to them after the repair, and then it came back for a repair, and then it was sold to this customer called Parameter Technology. So as soon as it got sold to a new customer, that other customer got inserted into the business partner tab. Okay, so that's a new feature that's come in with patch level 2 of version 10. The next report, another new report relating to batch traceability. That's again has been included since patch level 1 of version 10. So let's have a look at that report. So under stock transactions, under stock reports, there are two new reports. There's one called forward batches and serial trace report, and another that's called reverse batches. So what does that mean? The forward batch one is you put in a particular batch number, and then it'll look at all transactions for that batch number and see if it's been used in production into another batch number, and then maybe into another batch number. So it will track it all the way. If you particularly have multi-level bills and materials, and that same item has been used, whether it's a batch or serialized item, has been used along, the production process to a final product and then sold, well, that's all tracked now. So if you had some recalls, you can do a traceability run and say, well, this batch number, show me what's happened to it. So I'm looking at this particular batch number. If I run the report, and now I can see that that batch number, was transferred, was delivered, came in through a purchase process. But then I can see that there is a bit of a graph, hierarchy going on. So that particular batch number went into batch number plus A, and then that batch number went into that same batch number plus B. So this is sort of tracing the whole transaction, and if you ever had a recall, you can just say, well, show me where this batch number's gone, whether it's been delivered to some customers, whether it's been used in production, and then that item has been delivered. It's showing the full traceability. So I'm running this in a forward manner, but I can also run it in a reverse manner and say, well, show me the reverse. So I'm going to show the final product that was manufactured and see what the source of that was. So now we're just looking at it in the reverse order. That was the batch that came from, within that batch, this batch was used, and so on. So this gives you full traceability capabilities without writing custom reports within SAP. The next one is around bills of materials. Now, we actually covered this in the production webinar a couple of weeks ago, but I'm just, going to just highlight it one more time. So on the bill of materials and on the production orders, now you can have a description of the BOM being different from the item master description, right? So same way you can change the description on a sales order by just changing the description, and then you obviously can't tab out of it. You've got to go Control Tab. You've now updated this for this particular bill of material only. Now, this hasn't affected the item master in any way. The item master is still got the same description, but on the bill of material now, it is got slightly different description. And then if I raise the production order on this, or actually I'm looking at a sales kit, so that's not the best example. I need to find an item that's production BOM. So I've just updated this particular description of this particular memory chip to say that I'm using a different version on this particular production bill of material. And then when I raise the production order, that description comes through. But what I can also do is I can change that on the actual production order and say, well, actually, I'm using version 1.3. Okay, so that gives you a bit more flexibility. And then the final production-related change is the fact that now you can use the parent item as a component if you're raising a production order of type special. So what does that mean? So if you are doing some rework on a product that you have already manufactured, and you need to just change some parts, swap some things in and out, what you can do now is put the finished product. So I'm just going to change this to a special. And then I can say, well, the actual finished product is also a component in this. And then maybe I'm changing the memory chip, right? Because that got damaged. And I can raise this as a production order, and then I can just complete the rework on this. Now, this wasn't possible prior to version 10, and this is new in PL02. The final point, which is just more infrastructure related, is as of version 10, Microsoft SQL 2019 is also supported. For those who are running HANA, HANA version 2.0 is now supported, which gives you a lot more bells and whistles around the analytics. So that concludes the agenda for today. You can see the contact details of the various account managers, or certainly you can also reach out to your consultant if you have further questions about version 10.